Good afternoon, dear children of class 7th A and B. Dear children, today we are going to study History and Civics, chapter 4, page number 25, Turkish invasions and the Delhi Sultanate. We will study how Muslim rule came into India and which were the kings and sultans responsible for it. The first of them was Mahmud of Ghazni. He was from Turkestan. What he did? He attacked India from the year 1001 to 1025. Within 25 years, he attacked India 17 times. He was the Sultan of Ghazni dynasty, a small city in Turkestan. What he did? He tried to loot various temples, the riches of the various temples he was aware of, and he took all this wealth back to his country, and with that money, with that wealth, he tried to make his capital Ghazni a beautiful city, very beautiful city. He didn't have this in mind that I want to expand my territory in India and I want to rule India. No. Just he wanted to loot India, especially the northern India. All the temples, they had various temples which have lots and lots of wealth kept over there. He looted them all and went back to his country and his dynasty, his own capital, Ghazni capital, and over there with that wealth he tried to make his city beautiful, his capital beautiful. How he got chance to come in India? India at that time, there were small kingdoms, and the kings of these small kingdoms were fighting among themselves, each other. So, seeing this, he got a golden opportunity to attack India and to loot the immense wealth from the temples and return back his own country. After his death, there was another province in Turkestan that was called Ghor province, which was under the rule of Ghazni dynasty. After the death of Mahmud of Ghazni, that dynasty became separate from it, and they separated themselves from the Ghazni rule and made an independent state. And the king of that particular dynasty was Muhammad Ghori, the second person. He also came India with a vast army. He also came back India with a vast army, looted the Indian temples, especially Somnath temple in Gujarat, and destroyed many temples. Here it is written in here. However, the most significant of Mahmud attacks was the loot of the temple of Somnath, famed for its riches. After 3 days of fierce fighting, Mahmud defeated the Rajput army of 50,000 soldiers and returned home with immense wealth. Mahmud Ghazni in India, he fought many wars. The first battle was the Battle of Waihind in the year 1001 CE. Two kings, King Jaipal and his son Anandpal, they tried to stop his army of Mahmud of Ghazni, but he defeated both Jaipal and his son Anandpal. After he got victory in these two battles, Mahmud of Ghazni focused on looting the temples of North India. These temples were not just prayer houses but also held the most precious treasures of the town. He invaded and plundered rich cities like Mathura, Nagarkot, Kangla, Thaneshwar, and Kannauj. In each of his invasions, he destroyed every temple and looted its treasures. However, the most significant of Mahmud's attacks was the loot of the temple of Somnath. Famed for its riches. After 3 days of fierce fighting, Mahmud defeated the Rajput army of 50,000 soldiers and returned home with immense wealth. Though Mahmud was successful in subjugating Indian kingdoms, he had no ambitions of establishing his rule in India, which he used to beautify the city of Ghazni, his own capital. Mahmud was known as a bandit, owing to the numerous loots in India. After his death of Ghaznavid empire disintegrated. By the end of 12th century CE, 5 major kingdoms were prevalent in northern India. These kingdoms were the Chauhans of Delhi and Ajmer, the Rathors of the Kannauj, the Chandelas of Bundelkhand, and the Solankis of Gujarat, and the Parmaras of Malwa Plateau. It was during this period that India faced another Turkish invasion, that was from Muhammad Ghori. Children, now we will study about Muhammad Ghori. His kingdom was under the rule of Mahmud of Ghazni, but after his death they separated themselves, and Mahmud of Ghor started the Ghaznavid dynasty. He was under the rule of Ghaznavid dynasty. However, after the death of Sultan Mahmud, it became an independent state ruled by the brothers Ghayasuddin Ghori and Muizuddin Muhammad, who is also well known as Muhammad Ghori. Unlike Sultan Mahmud, Muhammad Ghori not only aspired to plunder the riches of India but also to expand his reign in the country. He started by conquering the frontier states of Multan and tried and defeated the king of Sindh and Punjab. In his quest to conquer North India, he came into conflict directly with Prithviraj Chauhan. He got first stop and he met with Prithviraj Chauhan's army in the first battle of Tarain in 1191 CE. Prithviraj Chauhan, the Rajput ruler of Delhi and Ajmer, fought the Gaurid forces and defeated them in the first battle of Tarain. They were so powerful. But in the second battle the next year, after a year of planning in 1192 CE, Muhammad Ghori returned to India to avenge his defeat in the first battle. Prithviraj tried to unify the Rajput kings against the formidable threat to their territories. The most powerful Rajput king, Raja Jayachandra, refused to support Prithviraj. In the second battle of Tarain, Mahmud Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and laid the foundation of his reign in India. He didn't return, but he returned back with his will that he will defeat and start ruling in India. Ghori defeated Prithviraj Chauhan and laid the foundation of his reign in India. He occupied Delhi, thereby ending Rajput rule in northern India. Battle of Chandawar, the third battle in 1194 CE. After ascending the throne of Delhi, Mahmud attacked Raja Jayachand of Kannauj and defeated him at the Battle of Chandawar in 1194 CE. This battle gave Muhammad control over most of northern India and strengthened his position in India. Establishment of Delhi Sultanate. How? After annexing Indian territories to his empire, Muhammad Ghori returned back to his own country and in his own capital Ghor. He left the consolidation of Indian territories to his military general Qutubuddin Aibak. अपनी सत्ता, भारत में जो सत्ता थी उसने क्या किया, अपने मिलिट्री जनरल कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक के हाथों में देकर वापस अपने देश चला गया, अपने कैपिटल गोर. Qutbuddin Aibak, he was a slave working as a military general. Even after the death of Muhammad Ghori, He was well known as a slave of Muhammad Ghori. But after the death, what he did, Aibak annexed several territories in India such as Mathura, Gwalior and Malwa. Meanwhile, his lieutenant Muhammad bin Bakhtiar Khilji conquered the prosperous states of Bihar and Bengal. After the death of Muhammad Ghori in 1206 CE, his empire split into numerous small kingdoms. Under various military generals, Qutbuddin Aibak took charge of Ghori's Indian territories. He founded the Mamluk dynasty. What is Mamluk dynasty? Mamluk is an Arabic word which means slave. Gulam वंश की स्थापना की. Who was the founder? He was Qutbuddin Aibak. It is also known as slave dynasty because when he became a sultan, Aibak was still a slave of Muhammad Ghori. सुल्तान बना, उसके बावजूद वो गुलाम था गौरी का. The period from the inception of his rule in 1206 CE till 1526 CE is known as the period of Delhi Sultanate, as the rulers were known as sultans and they ruled from Delhi as their capital city. The Delhi Sultanate includes 5 dynasties. The slave dynasty, which ruled India from 1206 to 1290 CE, the Khilji dynasty from 1290 to 1320 CE, the Tughlaq dynasty from 1320 to 1414 CE, the Sayyid dynasty 1414 to 1451 CE, and the Lodi dynasty 1451 to 1526 CE. These 5 dynasties and their kings who ruled from Delhi were known as sultans. Let us know and learn about Mamluk slave dynasty and its first king Qutbuddin Aibak, who was still slave, being a sultan who was still slave of Muhammad Ghori. Qutbuddin Aibak acquired independent control of Ghori's vast and expansive empire in India. His dynasty is also known as the Mamluk dynasty. Aibak was just an able ruler, known for his generosity and kind-heartedness. So he was given the name Lakh Baksh, or giver of lakhs. He built 2 mosques, the Quwwatul Islam in Delhi and Dhai Din Ka Jhopla in Ajmer. He even started the construction of Qutub Minar but could not complete it. Aibak did not add to the Turkish conquest in India and died in 1210. See, when he fell off a horse while playing polo. Polo is a game which is played on horse with a hockey stick. From the horse he fell down and he was dead. After his death, his son-in-law Iltutmish, he became the next sultan, and took over the throne of slave dynasty. He is considered to be the real founder of Turkish rule in India. Yes, children, remember this. Iltutmish is considered to be the real founder of Turkish rule in India. He was an able ruler who consolidated the scattered Ghori territories under one strong, well-administrated rule. He crushed anyone who challenged his rule in India. He destroyed the Turkish nobles who defied him, claimed to the throne, suppressed the Khilji revolt in Bengal, and subjugated the rulers of Ghazni and Multan. He was recognized as the sovereign sultan of India by the Caliph of Baghdad. baghdad के खलीफा ने उसे बताया कि असली सुल्तान भारत में हिंदुस्तान का वही है. Iltutmish also conquered the reigns of the Rajput rulers of Ujjain, Ranthambore, Malwa and Gwalior. He refused protection of the king of Khwarizm, who was being pursued by the Mongols, thereby preventing a Mongol invasion. Apart from military powers, Iltutmish had strong administrative skills. भाई दिमाग तो था, राजा था और काबिल राजा था, उसे युद्ध लड़ना आता था. He was knowing how to fight a war. उसे सत्ता चलाना आता था. He was knowing how to rule a vast dynasty, vast kingdom. And what he did, apart from military prowess, He had a strong administrative skills. He divided his empire into several provinces known as Ikta. अपने पूरे साम्राज्य को. You can see in the history book on page number 25 there is a map given, map of India, and with India is colored with the orange map, yellow map, and that orange color, this was the kingdom of Iltutmish. He ruled from Afghanistan, then Pakistan, then this western part of India, central part of India, then to the eastern part of India. This much big territory he ruled, and he divided this territory into small provinces known as Ikta, which were administered by the noble class known as Iqtadar. Now what is noble? Who were noble? Nobles are high rank officers in his kingdom. Administered by the noble class known as Iqtadar, Iltutmish created an entire new class of ruling elite called Chalisa, or the group of 40. He was the first Turkish ruler to introduce a coin system different from the Rajputs. He was a patron of art and learning. He completed the construction of the Qutub Minar, started by his father-in-law. He also built his own tomb in red sandstone in Delhi. Dear children, after Iltutmish, he nominated his daughter Razia Ghiyasuddin Balban. He was the head of the Chalisa, which was made by Iltutmish. He took the charge of Nasiruddin Mahmud's territory. Nasiruddin Mahmud was younger brother of Razia Sultan. He was a kind person, kind king, but a very weak ruler. So the head of Chalisa, Ghiyasuddin Balban, ruled the Sultanate for a lengthy 20-year period under the shadow of Nasiruddin. But after the death of Nasiruddin in 1266 CE, Ghiyasuddin Balban ascended the throne and ruled for about 20 years more. Balban's ascendancy to the throne marked the beginning of an era of centralized governance. What he did, he reorganized the political structure of the Sultanate by decreasing the power of the nobles and making the Sultan the absolute power in the state. उसने जो उसके दरबार के जो अधिकारी थे उनकी ताकत को कम किया और अपने सारी सत्ता जो है अपने हाथों में ले ली. That is what known as centralized governance, making the Sultan absolute power in the state. He believed that the Sultans were the representatives of God on earth. ऐसा माना उसने कि भाई सुल्तान जो है अपनी जनता के लिए भगवान का रूप होती है और उसको सुल्तान को वैसी इज्जत मिलनी चाहिए. So he introduced the Persian customs of Sijda and Paibos. What is Sijda and Paibos? Anybody in the presence was expected to bow down and touch their forehead on the ground in respect, that was known as Sijda, and to kiss the feet of the Sultan, that was known as Paibos. Balban followed a policy of blood and iron and crushed any rebellion with heavy hand. What is the meaning of this? Means कोई भी जो विद्रोह उठता उसके खिलाफ उसको वो मार डालता, ख़त्म कर डालता, चाहे उनकी जान लेके या उसे किसी भी तरीके से नुकसान पहुंचाता. Anyhow, he kept the nobility under strict control and created a strong spy system. What is spy system? जासूसी व्यवस्था बनाए रखी कि कोई उसके खिलाफ आवाज़ तो नहीं उठा रहा, विद्रोह तो नहीं कर रहा. He did the same. He established security and stability in the kingdom by strengthening his army. This led to favorable conditions for the development of agriculture, trade and commerce in the city, which led to prosperity in the kingdom. Balban also fortified his kingdom to prevent the invasions of the Mongols and others. Balban died in the year 1286 CE. His successors were weak and incompetent. The slave dynasty came to an end with 3 years of Balban's death. After the death of Balban, Ghiyasuddin Balban, within 3 years, slave dynasty, Mamluk dynasty came into an end with his 3 years after the death of Balban's death. After 3 years of Balban's death, in 1290 CE, Jalaluddin Khilji, the governor of Samana, occupied Delhi by military coup and declared himself as the next Sultan, and he started the Khilji dynasty, who took over the reins of the Delhi Sultanate. This was the chapter, children, chapter of Turkish invasions and the Delhi Sultanate, chapter 4 from History and Civics. Hope you understood the chapter. If there is any problem, any topic which you didn't understood, please inform me on my personal WhatsApp number. And after I'm giving you the exercises, question answers, and I'll inform you what you have to write in copy and what you have to write in book. Thank you, children. Have a nice day.